Right, hello YouTube. This is going to be my video of what is in my RC car toolbox, and this box I use for working on my RCs, and I take it with me every time I go out. Rusty RC did a video on this and was asking people to show what's in their toolbox, so here's what's in mine. So, as you can see in this top corner, we've got a couple of wheel nuts. So we've got a couple of 17mm and they're serrated. Got some antenna tube. Got a spare body clip for 1/8 scale cars. Then in this next section I have, this is like a wing mount holder for the Hyper ST. These are suspension preload clips for the Hyper ST, and then this tool here is a pinion puller. So you just put the motor shaft in that end with the pinion obviously here, and then you just wind it down and it pulls the pinion off the motor if it's on there too tight. In this one I just have some O-rings for a Hyper ST centre differential on the spider differential. Then these are my most used tools in here. They are just some like cheap little Allen drivers off eBay. So it's got a 1.5 to 3mm, and then it's also got the hex sockets as well, a couple of those, and a positive and a flathead screwdriver. Then the only other thing that is in here is some spare of these sort of body strengthening bar things for the Hyper ST, because when you buy a new shell they don't come with these, and I got them spare with a kit and they're about £6. So whenever I get a new shell I've already got both of these and the mounting hardware here ready to go, and they just fit in here just because it's kind of annoying actually, but that's just where they fitted best, to be honest. Then in this next compartment here we've just got a couple of nuts and bolts, a random washer, not much to see in there really. In this compartment here we have some servo tape, which I use really only for sticking down receivers. For ESCs I like to cable tie them down. Then we have a couple of adapters in here which I made. So I have an XT90 to Dean's and a XT90 to XT60, which this is used for my engine heater, and you can see I didn't put any shrink tube on that side for some reason. And this Dean's to XT90 is just for if I get any batteries with Dean's, or I get an ESC with a Dean's plug on. I don't use Dean's plugs, I use XT90s on all my batteries and ESCs, so I've got this adapter just to test them out before I convert them all over to XT90. Then the final thing we have up here is a spare battery holder for my HPI Nitro MT. Because I've got a humpback in there now, so I didn't really need that anymore, and then I've got some spare bearings there as well. That is it for the top. Let us go to the next section. So moving on now to the inside of the tray. That's just a label of a part that I need to put away. I've got the insulation tape for taping stuff that needs insulation, like if any of my wires get cut or anything. I can put a bit of that round while I'm in the field, then replace them when I get back. I've got my toothbrush, so if I'm running my RCs at the park and I get an ice cream and I need to clean my teeth afterwards to keep them nice and shiny, I've got that. Then I have the blue thread lock. So yeah, we've got a nice big bottle of that to make sure all the motor mount screws, wheel nuts, all thread locked on. Make sure they stay on forever. Then we have the cable ties, which are used for repairing RC cars that you don't have spare parts for, and also making sure the ESC stays where it should, because that servo tape never holds up to my level of bashing anyway. Then we have the full-on Halford's Advanced ratchet with 17mm deep socket for screwing on wheel nuts, because yeah, apparently RC car wheel nuts really like to come off, so you need a proper spanner to do that. I don't do them overly tight, to be fair. I just have wax, it's the only thing I have that's 17mm. I don't have any of the multi-spanners with a 17mm bit on for some reason. And then this is for 1/10 car wheel nuts. This is a 7mm ratchet. Then we've got a couple of these little T-wrenches. I don't know what this one is. I guess it's not a T-wrench because it's in a cross, or not even a cross, it's a triangle. But that also has bits for the turnbuckles in as well, so that's quite useful. Especially if you don't have the right little socket driver. When you need to unscrew something on both sides, I can just use one of these. What's in this bag here? Some random M3 panhead screws. So, don't know what they're doing in there really. Then we've got this useful tool here, shock shaft pliers. These are super useful. You can use just a normal pair of pliers and a rag or a piece of paper, but the shock shaft pliers are a pretty nice tool, so you don't have the slipping of the rag and stuff. And it's got holes for 3.54mm, and then a couple of others up here, and a finger punch there for punching holes in your fingers, or if you need to redo your ear piercings, I don't have any, or nose piercings, then I guess that is what that bit's for. I've never used that bit. I don't know what it's actually for. Anyway, I've got a set of normal Allen keys here, just in case I need two on either side of something, like with the sockets. Just a normal set. Or if it's a bit of an awkward angle, obviously these are L shapes, and if you can't get your wrench in, you can go in on the side and use it that way. So, moving down from there into the good stuff really, this is the most exciting bit. We have a box of M3 nuts and bolts, which there are many of. I don't know which way the camera is up, so I'll just put it up both ways, but you can see there's many bolts and nuts. There's some locking nuts as well, which are really useful. These are stainless steel, so they aren't the strongest nuts and bolts ever, so if you put them into, say, like a motor mount and you really want to tighten it down with a thread lock to make sure it stays in there, the heads can strip out. And if you're doing some of the longer ones in, say, X-ray plastic, then you can strip the head out on them as well, because X-ray plastic is insane. I don't know what they make it out of, but it's like screwing into metal. Then we've got the temperature gun, which obviously reads temperature in degrees Celsius, because here in the UK we are civilised and use Celsius, not Fahrenheit, although it can do both. So it's 61 degrees in here. Then we have the multimeter, which isn't mine, this is my dad's multimeter. It's pretty old, but it does a good job, measures voltage, which is what we want it to do. And then I've got my multimeter in here, which has a clamp meter on it, and it can measure up to 400 amps DC, so it's perfect for RC cars. So what I'd do is turn it on, obviously, set it to record the maximum or minimum, I guess, depending on if you've clamped the wrong wire on your battery, and then you basically get a big roll of duct tape, tape it around the car and leave this in, and then you can see how much current or how much peak current your car is drawing from the battery, which is useful for setting your gearing along with your temperatures, because if your temperatures are good, that's fine, but if your ESC keeps blowing up, then you need one of these to see why that is. Because if you're pulling 150 amps from 120 amp PSC all the time, it might not go too well. Right, last few things in here. We have got long nose pliers, obviously. These are probably one of the most useful tools after the Allen drivers, and a hammer of course, but I don't carry one of those because I would end up breaking everything. Then we've got the wire snippers, and I've got some body scissors here. We've got the straight ones and also the curved ones, which are slightly at an angle. And then this is some more cable ties and some shock boots for a high press tee, which I don't know why they're in there, but they are. Those cable ties could really do with going back up, and I think that is about it for inside the toolbox. This is what I take with me if I'm just bashing an electric car. However, for the Nitro MT I have a couple more things, so I'll show you those now. So normally if I'm going to run my Nitro car, which I've only got a HPI Nitro MT at the minute, these are the extra tools I would take. A couple of extra posi screwdrivers, purely because the Nitro MT does have posi screws instead of hex screws, unfortunately, so that's sad. I've got the tuning screwdriver. Obviously it's just a flathead used for tuning the Nitro engine. It's a bit longer. Then I have the glow starter. Obviously you need something to warm that glow plug up, and it's got the little dial on the top. It's a dynamite one to say how much voltage it's got left in it, and then if it runs out, I've got a spare battery because the other glow starter died. So what I do is I just charge the battery in that, put this one in, charge the battery in that, then take it out and swap them round. I'll probably just put this in the top of the toolbox and this in the lower compartment. And then the other thing I take with me normally is a engine heater. So yeah, that's the thing with the XT60's on. Let's see if I can get it out here. So this just goes on the top of the Nitro engine. Basically, normally while I'm in the car, actually, on the way there. So that goes on top of the head. It's got a heat pad in there. Normally just plug it into a 3S LiPo. And then you just press that button and it charges it. Not charges it. It heats it up for 10 minutes. And then that makes it a hell of a lot easier to start. Because if you don't heat your Nitro engine up first, unless it's a low compression like RTR engine, or if it's cold outside, it really helps as well. If it's in the middle of summer, you don't really need this, but sometimes you do. So yeah, I think that's about it. So yeah, go watch Rusty RC's video, I guess. I'll link that in the description. And yeah, that's it. Bye.